Hey guys, Matt here. It's the Broken Supercoach checking in. Supercoach has just reset, and I was going to do this tomorrow, but we'll have a look now. It's a big round. We'll take a look at the ups and downs. See my score on screen just now. Um, Not a great week. I feel like I'll probably address it as well. Like my voice, you'll have to excuse my voice. It's really I went to the showdown Friday, and it's still so rough. Like it's one of the greatest games in history, honestly. Um, so yeah, I think this season's been really tricky. And I think a lot, with all due respect to anyone highly ranked, I think a lot of the higher ranked players are extremely lucky, and they've made some really terrible calls that in the previous years would have actually would have really hurt you. So, and it's paid off so far. It's a marathon though, not a sprint. Have dropped 10,000. I made some 2,000 is not a great score. I made some, as you guys would have seen, made some pretty silly errors with field choices. Um, so I'm okay with that. I think everyone got affected by Stevens, but things like Rochelle on field wasn't a great idea. But we'll go through and have a quick look at the team, eh? Should load up shortly. Right, so sorry about that. Just had to refresh. There it is. Not a great round. No real mistakes here. Obviously, if you don't know, the trade I did was I did Bowie, Ward, which was a shame. And who else was it? Mcgovern. So I got Zerian, so it was an overall gain, I think, in fairness. Ward did score nicely, and it is disappointing to lose his money, but I don't want to not have Cripps, and he proved again that you had to get him last week because this guy is. I'll talk about him soon, but this guy is going. Like, he's all the way to the moon. So if you haven't got him last week, you must get him this week. So let's go through the lines. Short, Crisp. I knew I was correct about Crisp. This guy's not a keeper. He's not a defense keeper. He can't play midfield. He's going to bleed points all year. He had that 120 is an anomaly against the Crows. It was an undermanned Crow side. They got caught. He's not a defensive keeper, and you have to get rid of him at some point. And I'll think about doing it this week actually, while his price is still nice, because this guy he will bleed money like mad. Short, still nice. Takes a lot of kick-ins, and I'm okay with that. Ridley, yeah, he seems to be back to himself. He's gone down obviously because that first score was not ideal, but he's putting those hundreds up now, which is kind of what you want from him. 115, 102. Yeah, 68 was terrible, but against two other very quality sides, he's put up the good score. So we're happy with that for sure. I traded in Bowie. I would have liked Hewitt here, but I couldn't get Hewitt and Cripps, and I think I'm 50-50 on whether Hewitt is a keeper here, and Cripps most certainly is a keeper in the midfield. So I just took Bowie for the cash, and he's actually looked like going up 62. He's one of the best rookies around, actually, even though his price was not exactly rookie quality. He was about 2.6. What was he? 270, I think. Well, he's gone up 60k, which means he was 250. So, or 260-ish. It must have been in the middle somewhere. But yeah, really happy with that. He's put up minimum 60. I didn't expect a 151 from him, but I did expect him to be that 70 to 90 player. So we'll carry this guy for a fair while. We'll probably go up to 400k really quickly. He'll get another 40k this week because he's still got that 151 in his system. And he'll continue to go up. So that's an easy 200k there. Mitchy Hinge, what a rookie. 50k rise. Looks like one of the Crows' best players, actually, at this stage. So you've got to be pretty happy with Mitch Hinge if you're an owner. And if you're not, you've probably missed here, because this guy will probably get mid-eligibility, I reckon. He plays a lot of midfield minutes along the wing. I actually don't think he plays off of halfback at all. So if they're serious, they'll give him mid-eligibility, and he'll be a very handy cover for both for a long time going forward, because he's dropped some pretty reasonable scores here recently. 84, 91, and that's his first hit out in a year against Freo, so I'd be pretty happy with that. McCartan just didn't see the rebounds as much as we were used to with Sydney, which is fine. That's going to happen. He just didn't get those intercept marks, just didn't get as many kicks. He's still very good for them, and he's a key part of their plan. Whether he's a keeper or not, I don't know. And then we've got the two lads on the bench. DeConning's next week, and he's minus 15 break even, reliable 50 points. We got to love that. And Gibcus hasn't been great, but he's gone up 20. He'll slowly make us money, and his job security seems good. And then the captain situation, there was no real shout out to the viewers there. One of the viewers in the comments last week was tossing up between Steele and Neil. I obviously advised Neil. Steele was the right choice. Shout out to him for thinking about Steele. I think Neil had the history. Yeah, he did get tagged. And before I go on, can we talk about... I'll actually accentuate this. Because can we talk about tagging a bloke while you're losing by 102 points? Like, are you serious? That's all I can really say about that. 107 points or whatever that is. That is ridiculous to tag a player and still lose by over 100 points. North Melbourne are not very good. They're actually an extremely bad football team. And the fact that they've even tagged Neil is just ridiculous for 100 points. You'd think at some point they would have eased off. And I guess they did because he ended up getting 100. Steele 120. Looks like he's back. Glad we held. Yeah, he'll bleed money, but whatever. McRae the same. Didn't expect a 92 out of him. Really surprised that he's dropped a 92 actually, and that's a concern. But it is what it is. Everyone's got McRae. Tuke Miller, as I mentioned in the video, do not captain this man. GWS tag, and boy did they tag. So obviously it's something to consider as a captain option for Tuke Miller when going forward. It's important to identify whether teams tag or not. So Gold Coast might be the same because Carlton might be similar because in the past Sydney have used Hewitt in a tagging role as well. So they might do the same on Miller again. They might use a different tagger as well. But I'd certainly be concerned again that he'd get tagged again. I don't know if Voss, as the new coach, is a tagger though. Rao, great, going up in price. Is he a keeper? Might be. I think his low end is going to be a little low, but I don't mind a lad at 350, averaging 110. At worst, I think he might be your M8, so that's good. Horn Francis just ticking along. What can you do? Like, he's going to score. This is his lowest score of the year, and it's going to happen when you lose by 100 points. That's going to happen. And Dill Stevens, so as you guys know, I was afraid to loop. I was afraid to miss what Dill Stevens could have done. I had no faith in Dacos backing up another good score. And I just wasn't sure if Soligo was going to be the sub or not. He wasn't. I had Stevens on field. I lost 70 points there. But at the end of the day, I'm not too fussed. It is what it is. Now, there's talk about whether Stevens gets dropped after a terrible performance like that, and I'd be pretty surprised if they get dropped. They're playing a pretty weak North Melbourne side. He's been good enough in the round 1 and 2 that you'd think he'd be able to continue on, even though they are pushing it for top 4, so they'll be pretty ruthless with selection. I think he got caught up in the Hickey. I think Hickey got subbed off. They had a sub come on, and I think he got caught up in the role swap there, where the sub must have been only able to play a particular role. He got put in weird positions. Probably ended up having to do some tags or whatnot. He probably ran with McRae for a little while as well. So I don't think he's going to get dropped. And I think he's still got a big score in him from last week. And 23, I don't expect him to do that again. But if he gets dropped, then we've got 2 goose eggs on the bottom. Saligo won't come back. There's too many midfielders pushing in the Crows team now. So we're going to want to hope he holds his spot. McDonald, yeah, Hawthorn look good. These guys are just going to make money. And if you've got Ward too, they're both just going to make money. This guy's a reliable 50. Pretty happy with him. He'll go up. You will trade him out at the buys. Probably we'll keep a hold of Connor McDonald. And this is what we're expecting from the rucks. Grundy 96, Wits 95, great. I know that there's people out there who have a ruck, who are a bit scared of the ruck situation at the moment. If you're a Gorn owner, or you're a Darcy owner, what was your plan? Did you go down to English? I know that English was popular. Was Bruce something you went for? A lot of people ran Hayes at R2, and that's you've got a serious set of balls if you run Hayes at R2. And with all due respect, you're probably gonna have to fix that in the next week or two. You'll need someone there. Now, whether that's Bruce, I don't know. Bruce looked wrecked after the GWS Gold Coast game, like truly wrecked. So I'm not sure he plays. I'm not sure he's got 22 AFL games in him. And I just don't know if Hayes or Dixon are reliable R2s. So I think you need to address that. If you've got Gawn, if you've got, or if you've got Sean Darcy still, you shouldn't, but I think you've got to do something with that. It looks like the meta ruck's currently a Grundy and Witts, and I'm happy with that. Dixon will sit here making money. I wasn't too bothered. I knew he'd come back. I feel like he is in their best 22, and they're not going to field a best 22 West Coast for weeks. So I feel like he'll continue to get runs. And all we're really doing is holding out. Well, I suppose before I go on, we've got Hayes and Dixon to go there. But I suppose your other option, if you're running a tough ruck here, that in a couple of weeks, Zeri will get, or Cherry will get ruck status. And you could run him as R2. That's not a bad score. That's only 10 less than Grundy. So you'd be happy with Cherry and R2, but you just need something to cover you across. And that's why I guess people are using Hayes and Dixon. But you're bleeding points doing that against Witts. Forward line. Butters took it. I actually thought Butters got subbed off. I was at the game and I saw him limping off, and I thought, oh no, it wouldn't have been more than halfway through the first quarter, or maybe the second quarter. It looked really bad. He was limping off, trainers all over him, and he just played out of position for the rest of the game. So hopefully he's all right and he bounces back. If there's any chance, based on how bad Port are, if there's any chance that he is even 60, 70% fit, they'll play him. Hinkley's playing for his job. Who they got this week? Melbourne at Adelaide Oval Thursday night. If they get rolled and they don't pick Butters, the coach's job is on the line. So Butters will play, and we've got great coverage here. I'll fix my mistake now. Look, I got caught up in the Rochelle hype, all right? He kicked 5 goals in his first game. Second game is quiet. I still think he's a very good rookie, don't get me wrong, and he's a great player. You could see there were moments in the game. What I didn't expect, though, and as a Crows fan, I'll be extremely biased here. What I didn't expect is that Port would run one of their better defenders on him. So they ran Houston on him all game, and that allowed Houston to run off. And I don't think Rochelle would have been used to someone the quality of Houston running with Josh Rochelle. And I think I don't think the Crows did either. And I think it's typical Port shenanigans where a bloke's playing his third AFL game and you're going to run one of your best medium defenders on him. I just think that shows a lot of respect to what they thought he could do. And in fairness, it did shut him down. I also think it's absolutely idiotic to do something like that. Same play, and I know it's Supercoach salt, but same as tagging Lockie Neal and losing by 100 points. I just think it's idiotic. Like, it's bad coaching, and you deserve to lose. So, and that's, kick on the siren is what did it, and it was effective for Rochelle. But playing Houston on a 3-game, it just seemed silly. Really silly. Canelio, great, awesome, 149. Roll was there. We're loving that. But I think most people have him. But we're loving his scores, and he really does look like a forward keeper. So we've got one there. Brody, half their team is out, so it looks like they've got COVID issues now. So he's going to keep scoring us these points, and we're going to be really happy with it. And is he a keeper? I don't know. He's one to watch for sure, and for the first half of the season, he's going to make us really nice money. Whether he keeps scoring like this and stays fit, I don't know. But if he does, he'll be a forward keeper. You only need 90s out of your forwards. And with cash generation as it is, this guy could be really nice for us. Cherry, yeah, great. Ruck one for North Melbourne. Whatever. Not much to say about that. And Dunkley, of course. He's Dunkley. And the last thing we'll talk about in the team is Hayes. I guess the concern is whether they keep playing 3 talls. And I think he was good. He was okay. But, they will play. Who are they playing this week? I think they will play tall against... I think they have to play tall against Hawthorn with Gunston and Yeah, I think they will play because Hawthorn are a tallish sort of footy team. So I think they will play tall against Hawthorn. But you feel like we're really happy we got the 80K out of Jack Hayes. If he plays next week and gets us another, what's he on track for, another 40, we'll be absolutely cheering. I don't think he lasts much longer than that. I think he just plays until St Kilda lose and he'll be the scapegoat. The 3 tall scapegoat will come into effect. They'll run smaller and then they'll keep playing. But as long as Saints keep putting wins together, decent wins, or competitive games, I think Hayes holds his spot. But your field option is Martin. It was a mistake not to field him. I'd only seen one game and I figured 5 goals. He's not going to kick 5 goals again, but Martin is an absolute must-have. If you don't have Martin this week, you have to get him. He's going to go up. It projected 96,000. He'll probably go up 100 in 1 week if he scores another 80 or so. Unbelievable, this guy. Minus 124 break even. So he's expected to go up 96 if he scores 90, and he really might. Because they're playing the Crows, so it'll be low defense, and Crows are not good away from home. So that will be really interesting to see. Let's take a look. Obviously, none of this is effective at the moment because I've literally just logged in. So that's the team. Let's have a look at some players. We'll have a look at the break-evens for sure, and then we'll take a look at the, whether any of these guys are must-haves, and then we'll take a look at some of the top players again, as we always do. So there really is only Martin this week, and I thought that was the case. Maybe Dixon. So I guess the question is, well, Nick Martin's an obvious one. You have to get him in. I don't know how. I don't know who you trade down to get Martin. Perhaps you used some trades last week and you feel like you need to make some corrections. Maybe you held on to Mcgovern. But everyone should already have Martin. So we're sort of preaching to the choir here. But if you don't have him, please get him. Cornelio. It's too late for these type of guys now. So this is the week where all the prices went up. So it's too late for Cornelio. If you don't have Cornelio, you have to bank that he's not a keeper. Or you can trade him in now, and you take the 70K hit, but you have to bank that he's going to be a keeper, a top 6. So you're trading him in as a discounted premium at that point. Whereas anyone who started him was using him as a mid-pricer. At this stage, if you trade in Cornelio now, what you're saying is that you expect him to go up to, say, 550,000, which would mean that he is most definitely a forward keeper because you're not going to trade him out at 550. So you've got to think he's worth 2 trades if you're going to get him in late. So if you think he's a keeper, sure, grab him. But I wouldn't be trading him for cash. Lockie Gallant's an interesting one. Gee, I don't think he'll kick 4 goals again. And I don't think his role is... What's he done? 42 and 79. Yeah, that is really interesting for 120K. It's just a shame that there's no one in the forward line to consider there. Because he's a good player. I think he's a really good player. And I think he's held his spot. And I think he's... As far as the tools that the Crows have, Walker comes back in for Fogarty, you'd think, and Himmelberg obviously is one of the showdown heroes, so he's going to keep his spot. And Golan kicked 4 as well, so I really think he does play. It's just his role's not friendly, and we've got no one to go down to. If you've got a hole, maybe think about getting him, but I just think Martin's the better option. Martin's got better job security. If Golan was, a forward defender or something, then we'd certainly think about getting him in, but I think it's awkwardly timed. So it's a shame we're going to miss that. I think he's going to be a very nice money maker. But it's just too early to trade down anyone, and that's a real shame. Bowie already got, same story, you can't trade him in now. Not for 328, you missed the initial rise. He'll probably only go up another 120 at best. So it's too late. Dixon, I think you have to keep an eye on West Coast team. That's the issue with West Coast, is they've got so many ins and out every week. I do think he is part of their best team. He was named in their round 1 side. That was with some COVID outs, but I think he'll be all right. Probably want to get him in. If you're using Hayes in R2, then you probably have Dixon at R3. If you are using Hayes at R3, then maybe you've got room for Dixon here. He's handy because he's got the forward ruck status. So my goal with Dixon is for him to just keep making money, continue to come up, and then maybe switch Cherry into that into that R3 spot, maybe even R2, and cash out and either put Dixon to the forward bench at that point when we cash out Hayes, perhaps. There'll be a number of moves we can make there, but that's something to think about. And that's it. Rioli, I don't know. I'm not sure you can trust. Again, forward, not friendly. If I was to go, he'll be back this week, but if I was to go forward, I'd get Martin. I wouldn't get Rioli. I'd even go Gallant over Rioli, in fairness. Didn't play. Yeah, Bruce, keep an eye on him. 200k is good, and if he keeps scoring like that, then it'd be extremely tempting to go down to Wits just to get that extra one. To get that extra, say, 200, what is it, nearly 200,000. It'd be extremely tempting to do that. His price is awkward to go up. If you've got Dixon at R3, if you've got Hayes at R3, it's an extremely awkward price to go up. That said, if Hayes plays next week and then Bruce scores another 100 and then Hayes gets dropped, I would not be opposed to a mini side trade banking that Hayes never comes back, because we saw that with Highmore last year where he used the scapegoat, a mature age NFL player. He used him early for top up and then rarely came back to him. So you could, in fact, cash out Hayes for an easy 120k, which is totally fine, even though he'd still be in a minus break even. And then go to Bruce on his bubble, sit him at R3, and if you've got Dixon, you can put him in the forward bench. So I'm not against that, actually, if that happens. But that's something to think about next week. Brody looks good. We spoke about Brody. Naish ended up looking like he was probably a pretty good pick. If you had him, I'd be really bothered if having any West Coast players at the moment. Same with Ho. Looks good. Again, I don't want to go near any West Coast players. I'm too scared. Because you just don't know what their final team looks like. Is Nation that final team? You don't know. So would I go down to Naish this week? To Ho this week? Probably not. I don't know if you've got any reason to. And Skinner was subbed out again. So is he on? He's on the bubble. Yes. If he's named, I don't know. 123. I just think we don't need to trade down in defense at all or forward, if I'm being real. So highly unlikely that he plays. I'm not actually sure what happened to him. We'll have to look into it, and I'll do it when the teams come out. We'll have a better idea about what was wrong with him. But yeah, subbed out, not good. Guy's been riddled with injuries his whole career. It's not that good a player anyway. So I don't know if Port go back to him. I think they'll go Sin. I think they'll go Mead. That's probably all we need to go through as far as those players go. What am I going to do this week? I'm actually not going to make any trades, which is wild to think about. If I was to make one, I'd jump off the Chris bandwagon and I'd probably grab, I don't think it's too late to go Hewitt and bank the money. I also don't think it's too late to go, I don't mind Jordan Dawson as a pick. I know that's fanboying, but I really don't mind Jordan Dawson as the pick. Actually, I should talk about each player in every role, but we'll say because I'm not going to do any trades this week, or at best I'll do one. It would be something like Crisp to Doherty, Crisp to Hewitt, Crisp to Dawson, whatever their break evens are. I'd have to have a look, but I'd do one of those. I wouldn't do much more than that because I don't really like trading Crisp at the moment. I think I've just got to kind of commit to him, but I'll think about it most certainly, because I'd like to catch him, say, someone like Dawson who's got now 100 break even. I think he breaks that every week now. 98, 99, 123. Obviously, 2 goals. He probably got scaled a fair bit as well. But I was always a big believer in Dawson. And he was in my team, if you guys have been watching since the start. He was in my team at the very start, but I did some changes. I just didn't trust him. So I'd love to be able to go Chris to Dawson and not really lose any money outside of the one trade. It's something I'll think about. Hall now, this is a wonderful score for Hall, unless you own him. But let's go through and we'll have a look at, long story short, no trades for me, maybe Crisp, maybe. But let's go through the top players in each line. We'll talk about perhaps who might be relevant for us, who might not be. We'll go by total points. We always sort by total points. Doherty, I don't know what I got against Doherty, if I'm being honest. I think he's good. I think he's really good. I thought he should have started cheaper, with all due respect to him. Yeah, I 6% of teams, it's too risky. You're playing the field. Jeremy Mcgovern, this guy's just he's just milking points. But I said last week, 1.6%. I don't think he's relevant. If you want to go him as a pod, I think he's a really good pod. And I honestly believe that their strategy is that they've got 5 blokes off the street and Jeremy Mcgovern, and they're just handing him the ball. But he's played. The big red flag for me is that he plays for West Coast and he's played every game, which means he's either immune to COVID or he will get COVID soon. So I'd be pretty concerned about Jeremy Mcgovern's reliability, because at this rate, all the West Coast are going to be out through health and safety protocols. So, I'd be very concerned about having him in my team, having a guy that's played every game for West Coast in my team, which sounds silly, but it's the facts. George Hewitt, I would love to get him. And could I still do crisp to him now? No, I'd have to bank now that he's a keeper. And, having said that, I think when there's 54% owned, I think you can afford to play the field. I think you can afford to say, I know it's point chasing because you've missed out on all the scores gone past. And I've said this in years gone by. You don't get these scores put into your game. That's all. I know that sounds really obvious, but if you trade in George Hewitt this week, you only get what he's going to get from then on. You don't get these 3 scores. So while total points isn't the end of the world, it's a good indicator. It also can be really risky to track it this way. So, but when 54% of people own him, and probably more people are trading him in this week, I wouldn't be opposed to grabbing him because he's outscoring some midfielders. I think he's going to drop a lower score this week because I reckon they might tag Duke Miller with Hewitt, but we'll see. They do seem to like to use him around the ground, so keep an eye on him. It could be one I do. I really would like to get rid of Crisp, and it is a good way to get 100 easy K, and that lets you trade up someone in case of emergency, in case someone obvious, like we might. And I'll try that trade later. Now that I think about it, I'll keep that one in the back of my mind. I won't spoil it for you guys yet, but I'll try it in a tick. Short spoke about it. Hall's handy. I've already spoken about Dawson just before. I think he's very important to get him. Tom Stewart's going to be nice at the buys. Hall's going to be nice at the buys. I'm glad I didn't go him. I'm glad I went Cripps instead. That's about all that's relevant there. Let's have a look through the mids. Neil, he's goated. He's so good. Travis Boak, not relevant. Tom Green, probably missed him. Again, another guy I'd be really concerned with picking because Toby Green's still due to come back and he takes away points from him. So, Cripps, I know I just finished saying you can't trade in guys unless you think they're keepers. Patrick Cripps is a keeper. 100% he's a keeper. And this, even at 500K, that is absolute value to get a bloke that is going to be in the top 5 mids all year. And you're playing at 60% of the field. So you do need to get Patrick Cripps in. I can't stress this enough. You do need to get him in. Brayshaw, looks good. 96. He'll go down. 1 to I for the buys. An interesting one is Ben Keys. That's the full Crows midfield now, and he's still putting out these numbers. That's extremely good numbers for a bloke. If you got him at 560, you'd be cheering. 1.2%, 2,000 people own him. I think he's a really good pick. I'd actually love to see him get forward eligibility, being that he gets named at half forward quite often, but that's wishful thinking, isn't it? That's probably all there is to talk about here. You don't want any of these guys. You're trolling if you're picking any of these blokes. Bont's one to certainly look for at the buys. He's extremely overpriced at the moment. Ruck situation's pretty dire. English is the one, and we're gonna see if we can do some. I know this sounds absolutely ridiculous, but we might try to do some tricky stuff actually. If I can do crisp. I mean, I feel like it's such a stupid play, but I'll try it. Luke Jackson as well. I think it's one to watch for the future. I love the DPP, and I love the idea of perhaps having Luke Jackson in your forward line. someone like an English or Hayes in your ruck line and just being able to rotate them through freely and sort of running a, R2 as sort of a flex position where you sometimes put English there, sometimes put Jackson there, sometimes put Hayes there. I don't mind that whatsoever. There's not much relevance there. You got to have Grundy. And yeah, sure, O'Brien is putting on extreme points, and he's always been a really good Supercoach scorer. So if you have him, that's a great pick. And he was one that I thought about going to when Darcy was out, and it would have been a good pick, but too much of a pod. Lastly, forwards. Heaney came back down to earth, but 88, you'd still be super happy if you owned him. Tim English, I think we do have to get Tim English. I really think we do have to get Tim English in at some point, whether it's now or at the buys. I think it's hard to ignore. Martin, you think though that Stephen Martin will come back into this team and he will stop scoring like this, but I think you kind of have to do it. 521. What's his break even now? 58. So he's going up again. All right. We'll think about that. Taranto, yeah, good if you started him. Well done. Luke Jackson. That's probably all here to talk about. If you got Heaney, well done. Even if you traded in Heaney this week, I wouldn't be too mad. 88 is a very nice score for a forward. And like you said, he wasn't going to kick 4 goals a game, was he? You'd just be happy that he runs out every game fit and gives you at least 88. I think you'd be very happy if you're a player, if you're a owner of Heaney. So before I do my tricky trade, talk about captain options. I think you go Dunkley or McRae. I know that sounds silly, but you go Dunkley or McRae on the Saturday, into Touk Miller or Paddy Cripps on the Sunday. I think that's the best call. I'd be concerned about the tag. I know I said earlier in the video I'd be worried about whether Carlton tag or not. I also think Touk Miller does have a very good average against Carlton. And I've gone off the top of my head, and am I right about that? We'll find out. 130, 150, 100. So, yeah. He scores really well against them. He averages... you never look at these averages because, that includes when they were rookies. So you just look at their last couple, and that's really nice. Cripps against Gold Coast is not ideal, but he's obviously didn't have a good year. He's absolutely ripped up in the past. So 107, which if you look at these, is an extremely high average against that team. And the vice captains, I'd stick with McRae. 107, 162, 107, or you might want to go Dunkley, who got 134 and averages. You can't go via his average, but I'll be pretty happy with how he's tracking. Not so much against Richmond, but against just in general recently. Can we see where's his last few games? Yeah, these are nice. So I think I would vice Dunkley. The issue is we've still got Saligo, so Saligo will still be the guy we can loop in. And worst case scenario, we'll just slap the C on Touk Miller, who I think will avoid the tag. We'll touch wood. We'll touch a lot of wood on that. And it's been a really long video, but we will do the last trade. This is the trade I was thinking of. Don't think I'm going to do this though, all right? Like, don't put in the comments that's a dumb trade or whatever, okay? This is just me playing around. So can we do, I just want to try it. Can I do it? Oh, no. Well, that's definitely something to think about. Okay. I'm not going to hit okay on that, but that is definitely something to think about. It gets crisper. So, oh, man. I'm going to need a lot of people to talk me out of that trade in the comments. So, cheers guys. Let us know what you think about this trade. Let us know what you think. How'd you go this week? Really appreciate it. Hit a like. Subscribe as normal. I think I'm nearly on 100 subscribers, so thank you so much. I'll do a special video if that happens soon. Thanks, guys. Chat soon.